Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, is more than just a flashy tool made for smashing villains. It's a symbol of worthiness and power. But imagine if Mjolnir took a little vacation from Asgard and ended up in the DC universe. Who among the DC heroes roster would be able to lift it? Let's dive into the world of DC's mightiest and see exactly who's got what it takes to handle Thor's hammer and who might just end up with it being a very heavy paperweight. Thor's hammer isn't just about brawn. It has some more serious enchantments that require the hero to be pure of heart, strong in spirit, and let's be honest, able to deal with some cosmic level responsibility without breaking too much of a sweat. So, which of the DC's heroes would be having a shot of being deemed worthy by this Asgardian artifact? Buckle up, because we're about to find out. First up, we've got Wonder Woman, aka Diana Prince, aka the Amazonian powerhouse who could probably bench press a truck if she felt like it. Diana's commitment to justice, truth, and her amazing fashion sense is what makes her a top contender. She is also the kind of hero when faced with a moral dilemma might say, "I'll take this hammer, thank you very much." And it turns out that in the DC/Marvel's crossover event, the JLA and Avengers, Diana did actually lift Mjolnir, though she didn't make a habit of it. The fact that she could lift it really just shows that she's got the right stuff. She's one of the superheroes equivalent to being able to carry basically just whatever she probably wanted, and Mjolnir would absolutely agree. Wonder Woman is a character that I honestly think would be able to lift Thor's hammer due to the fact of its requirements being so weirdly made. We don't know exactly what it takes to be worthy of Mjolnir. Yes, we have the enchantments, but it's not a big situation where we have an exact definitive rule book on who can and who can't lift Thor's hammer. Its entire enchantment is very weird, especially when it comes to the fact of you got to be noble in mind, or noble in body or whatever, and you have to have a warrior spirit. And Diana would be able to easily fit these entire criteria when it comes to being able to be worthy for Thor's hammer. She easily has a warrior spirit. She is noble in mind and honestly pure-hearted in terms of what she wants to do, because no matter what, even though she has so much extra power, she truly wants to be helping in the betterment of everybody. She wants to be there and be a person that is a good symbol for any true reasons, and has been making a habit of trying to help people for as long as she possibly can. Hence why I think she would be the first person in DC that would easily and most easily, comparatively to anybody else, be able to lift Thor's hammer without any problem. Next up is somebody that I honestly think would be a sleeper pick. This being Hawkman, who is basically the definition of never say die. Carter Hall is like the hero who always shows up to the party with a full suit of armor on and says, "Let's get this done." He's got a track record of fighting evils across millennia and still manages to keep his feathers looking absolutely pristine. His sense of duty, his warrior spirit are just exactly what Mjolnir is looking for. He is always trying to help people, and he has the personality of somebody that is just trying to do his best to protect anybody that needs protecting, which Mjolnir would absolutely love. I truly believe Carter Hall would most definitely be worthy of lifting Mjolnir because of the fact of he would have the warrior's credentials, first of all, and the dedication to truly deal with and have access to something like Mjolnir. A lot of the characters in the DC world that I honestly see that would be able to handle Mjolnir would have to have that full-on warrior spirit. The fact of that one being one of the requirements to be able to lift something like Thor's hammer. Having to be able to, one, be pure of mind, basically pure of body, and be able to have this kind of spirit and mentality that Mjolnir is exactly looking for. The definition of worthiness is extremely weird in my opinion, and it is not very specific, but Carter Hall is somebody that I honestly fully think would be able to deal with something like this. His entire character, and anytime that we've seen him in any kind of media or interpretation, is almost always exactly what you're looking for and the true definition of an absolute hero. Let's talk about Shazam. Billy Batson's superhero alter ego is basically the childlike wonder of a kid who found the ultimate toy in the cereal box. Shazam might be a kid at heart, but when he sheds Shazam, he transforms, picking up some seriously divine muscle and wisdom. The hammer in Mjolnir would most definitely choose somebody like Billy Batson because he has that warrior's mentality, but the main difference is he is a kid who has the powers and basically so many different gods, but chose not to go the wrong direction with it. He is a kid that was granted all of these superhuman, otherworldly powers, but didn't get corrupted by that power. He wanted to automatically go in and help everybody that he could and do it in the best way possible. He has had struggles. He has had a very hard life and has still been able to truly stay in that fully heroic route in any specific way that he can. His pure heart and his role as a champion of good would easily make him a worthy candidate, in my opinion. Imagine Shazam trying to lift Mjolnir, getting it up halfway, and then forgetting that he needed to use his adult strength. And that probably would be a very honestly funny situation, because no matter what you guys say, I truly believe that Shazam would be able to lift it in either form that he was in. And somebody like him gaining the powers of Thor, which honestly he doesn't need. He doesn't need whatsoever. Like, he already has all of these other full-on abilities, so gaining something like Thor will just add another thing to all of the other absolute powerhouse of abilities that he already has as of right now. Martian Manhunter is up next, and in all fairness, I truly believe that Jon Jones is someone that would have easily what it takes to take on something like Mjolnir and easily be able to lift it. He has strength, telepathy, shape-shifting, and unyielding supply of patience for all of the shenanigans happening around him. His sense of empathy and justice are so strong, and he's basically got in a built-in how to be a great hero manual inside of his brain. Jon Jones's tragic backstory and his commitments to justice is one of the main reasons that I think it would just be enough to impress something like Mjolnir. Picture him lifting up his hammer and then just basically asking it, how do you do it, Thor? Like, just basically, how does anybody actively deal with this honest full amount of extra power? All of this full new things surging between him. He is a character that I honestly truly love due to his entire history, his entire backstory, and the fact that he has never truly given up. I'm gonna keep saying this again. Martian Manhunter's entire life has been a life of war. He has that warrior's full-on mentality and warrior's heart that Mjolnir would be needing to have. That is an entire thing that I truly have main criteria when I choose exactly who I think would be able to lift this hammer. And obviously I'm not going into any detail. I'm just talking about the specific characters that I think would be able to lift it and not really going into any more detail than that. If you guys want that, tell me, and I'll try giving you exact detailed videos on each of these characters and why I think they would be able to lift Thor's hammer. Next up on the list isn't just one person, it's two. And I specifically had to do these two people together because of the fact that I don't know exactly if they would be able to lift Mjolnir or not, but I do give them a better chance comparatively to the person that trained them. So let's give some love to Dick Grayson and Jason Todd. These two former Robins have taken some seriousness into their hero roles. Dick, now being Nightwing, has even stepped into Batman's boots, while Jason is out here as the Red Hood. It's like comparing two sides of the exact same superhero coin, one side being the big blue Boy Scout that is Dick Grayson, obviously not an extremely Boy Scout, but one being the Boy Scout and one being the absolute anti-hero. Dick Grayson has that entire whole I'm a great leader and thing that's going to be going for him, and his strong moral compass. And if he can get past living up to Batman's image issues, he would easily be a great pick for something like Mjolnir. As for Jason Todd, his road to redemption is basically like a never-ending emotional roller coaster. If he could get rid of and get over his darker tendencies, I would not even be surprised for him being able to lift Mjolnir. We have seen people like Loki be able to lift Mjolnir, and that was only after Loki was able to actually like have an entire mentality shift. So seeing somebody like Jason Todd being able to do it is something that I truly believe would be able to happen. I truly believe that these two have a far better chance of lifting Mjolnir comparatively to somebody like Batman. I don't think that Batman would be able to lift Mjolnir whatsoever, and that is something that I'm going to be standing by 100%. I don't see a possibility in hell that Batman would be able to lift Mjolnir. But these two Robins here would be the best bets that I honestly see. These two are the characters that have been basically able to take the best parts and worst parts of Batman and use them to their own advantages and sometimes even disadvantages. Dick Grayson is the best parts of Batman and has been able to use it to the best capabilities of him and knows exactly how to get everything done and knows exactly what he's doing to make the best and most gracious outcome for himself. Jason Todd is quite basically the opposite, showcasing most of the bad parts of Bruce, but still knowing that he cannot go as far as he needs to go at some point. Like, he goes to the point of just killing, but that's not exactly what I'm talking about. These two kids have had to deal with extremely stressful lives for their entire lives, and saying that they haven't had to deal with like an entire warrior mentality for the fact of being raised by somebody like Bruce Wayne in a city like Gotham is something that I cannot really abide by. Now, for the conclusion. For those of you that have stuck around to this entire video, you might be wondering, what about the big guns? What about Superman? I've already mentioned Batman. Well, while Superman is incredible, his powers comes with a lot of responsibility and self-doubt that would probably weigh Mjolnir down more than anything else. We've had Superman in the comics where he has lifted Mjolnir only under very specific circumstances where Thor is allowing him to hold Mjolnir. The only time that Superman was able to hold Mjolnir was when Thor was allowing him to, and as soon as that fight was over, when Superman tried to pick it up, he wasn't even able to pick it up. And that, first of all, showcases the fact that he wouldn't be able to lift it because he hasn't been able to lift it previously in canonical, like, actual history. But the main reasons that I honestly feel like he wouldn't be able to lift it is just so much more detailed than this. Superman isn't the type of character that would be able to lift Mjolnir because it's the same thing of why Spider-Man can't lift Mjolnir. Why characters that you would automatically assume should be considered worthy aren't worthy to lift Mjolnir whatsoever. And before I even get into many details about why I specifically think Superman couldn't lift it, I'm already going to be making an entire video talking about why I truly believe Superman couldn't lift this hammer, and I only made this video truly because of the fact that I wanted a video talking about the characters that I think could to come out before that. And if we're really going on to the other full-on side of this, we have Batman, and despite his badassery and his entire full-on thing of being fear in the shadows, his light is way too brooding and overtaken for him to be honestly considered. I don't even think that he himself would think that he is worthy. He has way too much mental baggage and full-on things inside of his mind that I don't see him being able to lift Thor's hammer. If we go and talk about something like the MCU for even just a quick little second, Steve Rogers, a character that has been able to lift Mjolnir and was able to lift Mjolnir later on, wasn't always able to lift it. He was close. He had the potential to lift it, but he just wasn't able to do it. And I honestly see that possibly being a situation for Batman. He might have some of the potential to do it, but I just don't think that he would be able to get there due to the fact of him having to get past a lot of issues. It took Captain America having an entire mentality change, going through a lot of different things before he could even consider lifting Thor's hammer. And once he did, it was the best moment in the entirety of that film. Batman would have to do so much more work because there's so much more going inside of his head comparatively to anybody else, and that entire full-on mental chaos that would be brooding inside of his mind would just be one of the main reasons that I think he would not be able to even get a grasp of Thor's hammer if he even wanted to. It would just be too much of one of those big problems of him not having that mentality, first of all, and just not even being considered to be near enough worthy as of that exact moment. While I do love Batman and Superman as characters, I just don't see them feasibly, actively having access to be possibly leaving up and picking Thor's hammer up and getting anywhere along with it. So there you have it. My picks as why and exactly which DC characters would just be able to lift Thor's hammer. Worthiness is a very tricky thing, and while some heroes might have the strength, they also need the right heart. They also need the right mentality, and the main reason that I think worthiness is a tricky thing, because defining worthiness is the hardest part. Defining exactly what it means to be worthy, defining exactly what it means to have everything that you're supposed to have, is one of those things that you can't truly and ever really define. Thor has been both worthy and not worthy at different times. People that have gotten the hammer can lose that worthiness, so having the exact definition is not really something that we've ever gotten an exact full-on, this is who's worthy, this is how you're worthy, this is exactly what worthiness means. So what do you think? Who would you have loved to see lifting Mjolnir? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this deep dive or at least enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more superhero content. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to come back for the next video, which will be coming out tomorrow. But with all that said, peace.